Okay, starting again. Once again, we're live. Sorry about that. We had a bit of a confusion with this new phone and the new light. So welcome everyone in here and out there. So today we're going to talk about perfectionism, and we know how we have been striving to be perfect. A lot of us don't admit it because somewhere we've been reading in the books now or somewhere that it's too stressful. But then we haven't really connected the dots that how did it affect us? How our lives and destinies have been shaped because we wanted to be perfect. So when we go back and examine a little bit the phenomena of perfectionism, you find that everything you may have done in life, starting with your early childhood, you have been striving, your choices were made because you wanted to be perfect. So when you were sad and possibly a bit depressed and not so happy, it was just that you didn't feel you were perfect enough, you were good enough, or something like that. So you'll see once we connect the dots, only then we can see the big picture and we can see the entire footprint of this, how it works, and how mentally, which we don't realize, it is a sickness. It's a virus that doesn't show, but it hits every organ, every aspect of your life. We have it. Our elders had it because we were told to be perfect. You know, if you keep going back in time, it's impossible to trace because everybody we've seen so far will have the same disease or the virus. So we don't know really how it could have started. Was it religion? Was it something else that started this sense of how we need to be perfect? So now talking about being perfect, it's really natural to want to grow, to want to do more, because that is our nature of evolution. That's how we evolve. So that's a very natural state. So that is not what I'm talking about when we talk about evolution. So we want to create something, we have more ideas, and all of that is the natural process. But that's a very stress-free process. It's like a bud or, coming into blossoming and more leaves coming, and then that's a natural process. That doesn't bother us. We grow like that, like our organs are growing like that. Our body is growing like that. But when it comes to the mind and we impose this sense of high stress perfectionism, then that's really natural because it is not possible ever to be perfect. So sometimes I question this, and many times I've tried to answer it myself, that who would, in the right mind, a sane person or sane society would impose such hardship upon us, knowing that we'll never get there. It's like telling us we are humans, we are a little lacking, God is somewhere above. Now try and reach all your life. You try and be enlightened, you try and be godly. It doesn't seem possible because we then start to see every weakness as a mistake. Everything that we could not achieve, could not do, or got hurt, we feel that it may be my mistake. Maybe let me have inner look, especially women. When something goes wrong, women go to themselves first. That what did I do wrong? They're hit more so. Both sexes have the similar disease, but somehow it's expressed differently. But women, if you notice how women want to keep changing, they even want the husbands or the spouses or the men to change. Men don't usually want a woman to change. It's very, very seldom they will want a woman to change, but it's more so a woman who will want the man and everything else to change, even changing herself, changing everything outside, changing a behavior pattern, changing a lifestyle. So when we talk about evolution, to grow is natural. But when we impose this, that you should be perfect, that is absolutely unachievable. And it's a crime against nature. It is a crime against yourself. We'll never get there. So if you look back now and try and trace it, just try and scan your own lives. Let us just do it for a minute. Let's go back into any age at all you want to go back to. And just see that what is it? What were you chasing at some point that was extra stress, that you needed to be perfect? You needed to really do it well. And when you couldn't do it, what stress? It could be motherhood, being the perfect mother. So go back and just quickly scan and let's experience this for ourselves. Okay, so what do we have?
It's for approval.
Approval? Yeah, because somebody...
When you strive to be perfect, right?
When you strive to be perfect, and then how does it feel inside when you're trying to be perfect?
It's extremely tiring.
Extremely tiring. Okay. So it tires the system. It tires the organs. The physical organism gets tired. Now imagine how old we are and how many years of this tiredness. We don't even see unless there's a disease in the body. Even then we cannot relate that the disease could be the immune system has gone bust or not performing that well because of this constant stress since we were born. So it's not just from walking. You know, the parents, don't walk this way, walk this way, do this, not this. Of course, we have to be taught. Yes, of course. But when we are told to be perfect, you know, now I'm not talking about just natural, like I said, natural growth. But it is just, and what happens is that we somehow get conditioned into that you can do it, you have it in you. How does that feel? Now you feel you have it in you. So if you can't do it, there's something wrong with you. Right? How many of us were told that you can do it? Just get there and do it because you have it in you. Right? But we couldn't do it many times.
But sometimes I see it also as just the encouragement. I don't necessarily think that everybody needs it as kind of a negative thing.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know, you can do it, just do, because lots of people, they really don't think they can do it.
Yes, that's right. But I'm talking about just being perfect. It's not about just singing a song. It's not just about writing your exam. But it's about just you being really perfect and perfectly doing it. So it's like, I want a perfect life. We've lived life. How is it perfect? And we're still looking for a perfect life. We're still looking for a perfect mix because that will make us happy. So our happiness and our bliss and joy now depend on how perfectly we are positioned in our life. What about a partner, that perfect partner?
Trouble.
A lot of trouble, yeah. There's a story, it wasn't a story, somebody was telling me this, that she was like 40 years old, or 42 or 45, and somebody asked her she's single, obviously, so somebody asked her, why didn't you get married? She said, well, she says, I wanted to, but I couldn't find a perfect man. And then she said, but actually that's not true. I did find a perfect man once, but he rejected me because he was looking for a perfect woman. So this is a true story. So you see how actually we are not just rejecting people, we reject people not just who will be in relationship, but we are rejecting life because it's not perfect.
Well, plus I really strongly feel that if you want to have it perfect, at one time comes a point where you don't even want to try something because it's so hard to try to do it perfect that you say, I'd rather not do it.
Yes. So this is another phenomenon of perfectionism, that a lot of times if you feel you cannot do it perfectly, you will not attempt to do it. A lot of us do not do a lot of things we would naturally, because we feel that we will not really be perfect at it. And we don't want to feel like a failure a lot of times. And somehow we start to abort a lot of things that could create natural growth in us. So we actually interfere with our evolution, with our natural growth, and we start to become lopsided, really lopsided. So the whole sense is around this perfectionism. When it comes to a job, it's the same thing. It's not the perfect boss. It's not the perfect colleagues. It's not the perfect environment. It's not the perfect whatever, right? People, your team, say. Somewhere along the line, you've got something going. And what happens is that we stop working at it. We stop creating teams and becoming part of a team because somewhere it's not going to happen. It's just not perfect. Because we have this sense of this ideology of how it should be. So we carry a story which is not real, not true. It's based on fiction. It was absolutely never true, which is this ideology of a perfect life. Okay, another thing, perfect health. What does that mean? How many of us spend a lot of money on organic, nothing wrong with anything, do everything they can, because for perfect health. And we all know that it's human body, it will crash, there's a lot of unknown, we will have viruses, we will have whatever else. We'll be in and out of these accidents and situations. So we all know that. But somehow we're striving for perfect health. There's nothing wrong in doing everything. There's lots of research that I want to eat this. We have choices. We don't need to eat this. But we don't need to carry this burden of perfectionism because that in itself compromises the immune system. And once that is compromised, then we start to get affected in various areas, aspects of our life. So if you look at it, when you go shopping, it's something really simple. You're still looking for your house to look perfect, for your garden to look perfect. So your shopping and buying could also be this unconscious dialogue, ideology floating that it all needs to be perfect. So I suggest, can we possibly drop this sense of perfectionism? But we're not going to be able to drop it if we haven't recognized it. If you think it's natural, because you may not have connected the dots. So it'll never be dropped because you haven't examined the story. And unless we examine the story, it's impossible to connect the dots. So going home would be a good exercise just to see that how many things, how you choose things, and even choose dialogues, choose your books, choose your teachers, choose whatever else, your clothes. Are you doing it to look perfect? Do you want a perfect body? And what does that mean, perfect body? You know, how many people, 30 million people just in US have anorexia and bulimia. They're bulimic. It's in chase of a perfect body. And can you imagine the psychology that happens? A lot of us, high numbers, about 60% are depressed. And this is from children onwards. So have you noticed the phenomena of depression, how big it's become, leading to suicide? But that's another matter, just basically depression. So where did all this come from? Depression has become a norm. We have some tools to manage it. We've accepted even depression as our mental state now. We don't even know the difference. If you ask a slightly depressed person that do they suffer, they will not know the difference because it's been there for so long. The cloud has been there for so long that we don't recognize that there is a cloud. Does it make sense? So if you look at it, it's not, and this is a mental health issue, probably the biggest mental health issue that is affecting us all. So it's not just Because I know people talk about it now. We didn't talk about this. Being perfect was just ideal situation. It was a dream to have a perfect life. And we often said, she's got a perfect life. What's wrong with her? What's she complaining for? Right? So we have an idea when you grow up with an idea of wanting a perfect life, wanting the perfect university, then the perfect job, wanting a perfect child. You have almost written your own destiny with a lot of frustration and unhappiness because you're doomed. So there's no way, no matter what you do in life, you better settle for a sad life and an unhappy and a stressed life. So life is not to be managed. Life is not sick. It's not life that is heavy and burdened and sick. It is our mind. So when we say, oh, this is life, no, it's not. It's our mind. It's your mind. Right? Life is just operating. It's actions. It's what we do, how we think, how we perceive it, and how we create something, right? So it's really important. I've decided to talk about this because we've been having a lot of conversations with people who are depressed. And there's a lot of stuff coming up right now that what is depression and what do we do with it? And how is it affecting our friends? Because we are actually seeing it in big numbers and in large scale from somebody who doesn't work to somebody who's out there at the biggest position or whatever. So it's all over, absolutely all over. So there's a lot of stuff coming through that. And that's when I decided to do the series on how not to be unhappy and record those short videos, which I'll be releasing part 4 tomorrow or day after. So if you haven't caught up with that, do so. And then I'm bringing up and wanting to talk about everything that's making us unhappy. Because I'm done talking about what is happiness. I want to actually focus and shed light on how unhappiness is created. And if we can see that, the result, of course, is bliss, is way more than just happiness. So my focus has just been for the last month since I've come back from India to just talk about each and everything that has kept us unhappy and is making us unhappy, and unconsciously with these ideologies, how much unhappiness and sickness we've created. So how does it feel? Can you at this point tell me one thing where you were also hit by this virus? You were chasing some sense of perfectionism. What would that be? Not in your personal life. Anything at all.
All my life.
All your life, yeah.
I think being a teenager was probably where I felt it the most, because in your group of friends, you're this kind of constant shaming, teasing that happens. And I think that's where I turned very introverted. It would be like, oh, you talk too loudly, and oh, you know, like your hair is like this, and you know, like there would be all this stuff that would happen at school. So there's this constant criticism, and I think for me then it was like if you shut down, then no one can criticize, and you kind of can just be that perfect little shell, but you can't really reveal yourself because
Yes.
your peers would
Yes.
have a problem with, someone's going to have a problem
Yeah.
with it, and of course you want everyone to like you in school.
Yes.
So that would be
Yes.
for me.
Yes. You can't be truthful. You can't be truthful. You'll be putting on masks forever. Because you can't afford to tell people that those are your weaknesses. Because then you could be shamed, ridiculed, laughed at, bullied, whatever, right? And it starts at school, like you said, as early as that. So we put on a mask. We don't speak our truth. We don't express it. We don't live it. We even forget what that truth was after a while. We don't even remember what that was. We've lost that person so long ago that we don't even remember that that person ever existed. So, not being perfect, when you're not perfect, people feel a lot of shame in that. They feel something's wrong. And they actually feel guilty that I couldn't be perfect. So there is this underlying sense of guilt and shame that goes hand in hand. And have you noticed it comes up right away? Somebody is rude to you, right away you actually feel, especially women again, that what did I do? What did I say? And then did I do this? Did I not? And then right away you're hitting that shame level. You're not feeling good about that. You're not examining that with a healthy mind. You already are sad because you didn't expect the person would behave like that. So you're now following the path of sadness or frustration or anger and then examining. So that doesn't get us anywhere either, right?
I go into the question of wanting to quit. You know, if somebody criticizes something, then I think, oh, okay, I guess I won't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Instead of, hey, well, that's their problem.
Yes, yes. Because everybody has an idea of what perfect is. You can only be criticized if you're not matching their sense of perfectionism.
Yeah.
That's all. But we don't realize this, right? We didn't realize it. So never mind, each to their own. It's like, okay, he said that, so you dropped it. Because you would not take the risk of either being ridiculed, confronted, or talked to like that, or you don't want to have that dialogue with yourself or with others. So you drop it. Let's just not go that path. So you see how many things we could have dropped in life?
It's like it's failure if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
There's like no in between.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
Because if you're not perfect, you are a failure. And now, sleeping with that at night, how do you sleep with that? And then it makes you angry. There's a very interesting phenomenon. Because when you actually feel like a failure, first you kind of get really sad and depressed and frustrated. You feel caged. But then you feel caged because you feel somebody else said this to you. That's why they put you in a cage. It can't be you. Now you're angry. You're angry that how dare anybody say that or behave this way. So now what is inside is now being expressed outside. So may I say that it would be safe to say that we cannot ever be truthful because we are always trying to be perfect. We've probably never been truthful. So the real us is totally hidden somewhere. And the unreal us has been living to this age till now.
I find there's a change going on now, though.
Yes.
I learned a lot since coming to you, even.
Yes.
I realize, I don't know, so many things.
Yes, and they're simple things. I don't talk about big things. I bring up very profound things or complex things, but in a simple way. Because there's no point in making it more complex. Our mind is already really complex. So I take the most complex notions, ideas, ideologies, and very radically, simply bring them to the surface. And once you recognize it in a simple way, you get it. Otherwise, you're always looking, you're trying to be clever and smart to grasp it and comprehend it, and it doesn't work. You know, too many words attached to it. So what about anything here?
I think I would agree with your comment on that teenage years when you're really identifying where you're at and you're placed pretty quickly by the peer group. And then I also would connect it to when you get to, for me, I've got to another stage in my life where expressing, I guess, I don't know if it would be perfection, like how I am, and then being shut down by a peer group of shrinks that others don't feel badly because of it, because you're out doing what it is that you wanted, what I want to do in life, or how I express myself, and then you get the signal that either that's not okay or it doesn't fit in with maybe the perfect ideal. So that's like, oh, not wanting to offend or not wanting to,
Yeah,
cause any issue. But then there's the shrinking of
the
self,
shrinking,
so
yes.
that others will feel good about what they deem to be what is okay.
Yes. So basically backing off from a dialogue, from a conversation, and because you feel that you cannot be yourself, so you'd rather pretend to be somebody else in that moment and keep everybody happy. So they don't, so you're not excluded in any way because we all want to fit. And in order,
or accepted.
or accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very close, exclusion and acceptance, very close in a way. That you don't want to be, so you always have this pretense. But it's nice to know that what we're suffering from, they too are suffering with that. Nobody missed this disease. Everybody got it. That's the best part. All humans have it. And those who actually connected the dots somewhere in their life, they probably feel it less. It didn't bring them down. It didn't change so much of their destinies. But it did. You still have to be mindful. When I started my spiritual journey, and God being the ultimate, that's what I felt, that we didn't know the word consciousness then, but we were introduced to God very early in a very religious way. And then later it was Buddha, and that was nirvana, enlightenment. And I, of course, wanted to be enlightened, and I wanted to be God. I actually wanted that. I didn't want the path. The only way I would follow the path is if I could be that. So imagine starting with a notion of wanting to be enlightened. Now, what is enlightenment? Who will define it? Nowhere Buddha defines. There's just a bunch of words. We don't even know what happened there. Truly, we don't know. Okay. Now we start to quote, whether it's the commandments, whether it's the Hindu text, whether it's the other texts, and we start to quote these masters, and we think that that is enlightenment. That is how an enlightened being should act, or a spiritual person should act. Often people look at me and they'll say that, oh, you're so spiritual. How did you use that word? The F word. I said, really? Or how could you on a street be eating this? You're an enlightened being. Really? So we forget that we are all in human body and we're having this great life. But since we have these expected roles, and it was really hard on me till it dawned on me that I don't know what the Buddha did. It has nothing to do with me. It was inspiring, all right. That started my journey. But the end goal has to drop somewhere because I'm going to make myself miserable. Because every night I would want to meditate to be enlightened. And meditation in itself is the most scientific technology, inner technology to connect with consciousness. It's not meditation. A lot of people do meditation for this and for this, then that's a whole different matter. Because that could still be following their perfection, their perfect life. But pure meditation, plugging into your consciousness, is the most scientific thing that we can do, to plug into our whole self. So somewhere from perfect life, it took a long, long time to get to the sense that imperfect is also okay. But it took a long time. Because if you read all the books, you again want to be perfect. So it took a long time to actually start to feel a bit whole. So when you start to drop the perfectionism and you include imperfect you start to experience the whole. And that is the whole. So is whole more important, or is the idea of perfectionism more important? And the whole means you could be perfect, not perfect, or whatever. It's just the whole. So it's like the planet Earth. We can't say the clouds have come, that's not perfect. When it's pretty rainbow, we say perfect weather. When there's earthquakes and other things, we say, oh no, the gods are angry or something, the people have done something, right? We don't see the whole thing as the whole picture. Now, when you come into this whole picture, that picture is no longer just in the mind as a concept. It's in your heart, in your muscles, in your organs. You're experiencing the whole. You're experiencing the whole. How would you act? What would your desires be then? That doesn't mean you're not going to have inspiration. You're going to have a lot more inspiration and possibly a lot more energy. And you may choose what you want to do very differently. But the nice part is you won't have fear of loss. Because it's only people who think life should be perfect this way don't want to lose out on that dream. And that is the fear zone. So imagine that. It's so simple. So what I would, did you want to add anything? Or okay. So are we with it though? We're resonating with okay. So is there any more you wanted me to examine with you, or should we get into the meditation?
It's a very good question. So how do you change it?
Yes, how do we change
I
it?
feel, I know, like a lot of, but it's theory, but because if something is ingrained your whole life,
Yes,
you find it really
yes.
hard to put it into action or into...
Yes.
yeah.
So from now onwards, actually, since you've heard this message, now this message is also in you. And you trust the message because you resonate with it. So at any given time, this message won't go away because truth has its own hold. And when it comes up, it starts to haunt us. It'll start to push the false. So you're not going to see the truth, but you'll start to see the false first. Anytime there's restlessness, you ask yourself, that what is it? What am I chasing? Your body cannot get this restless unless there's a chemical balance. That's different. Anxiety, if there's a chemical imbalance, is different. But if it's slight depression and if that is there, just ask that question, that what was I trying to achieve here? Now, that doesn't mean you stop to do. You still strive, you can still do it, but remove the stress that I'm not perfect. Today is okay. I'll just go home and put my feet up and read a book and not even cook for the family. And that is okay today. That is okay. Those are the baby steps. That every time I'm feeling I'm not okay, tell yourself it's okay not to be okay. And then you'll notice the heart just is not jumping anymore. It's settling. There's a quietness. Slowly. And then do your meditations without agenda. And when you come into it, there's a quality of transparency. When you start to actually look at the false, the truth starts to build, and that energy starts to build. This will give you more awareness to look at everything that's still false. And you'll get there yourself. You don't need a teacher for this. Slowly you'll get there, because you know how stressful it is, this sickness. So you will get there. You'll see it in all the people now who talk to you. I can guarantee you right now. You'll see. And you'll see how stressed it is. You know how stressful is just having a simple conversation sometimes? You're talking to each other, and all of a sudden the person is saying something, and you're dying to add to it because you have something you need to share, okay? Now, you still are polite because you don't want to interrupt the conversation, but you must get this out because it's going to fit in perfectly. Maybe to impress them or to whatever the reasons. Your body is stressed. Your body actually is stressed. Feel it. Just imagine this scene. In a conversation, somebody is talking. You're not just sitting, just being present. You're actually, your body posture has changed. Does that happen?
But is that not like an energy that sometimes you get from a conversation, like an excitement?
Yeah.
Like it's.
But there is also sometimes when you're thinking of something you must say and you don't want to forget, because in a conversation it could be forgotten. The eyes tighten up and there's slight stress in the body because you don't want to forget. You don't want to miss out somehow. Just as simple, I'm giving a very, very simple. It's not the same as having a conversation. Somebody says something, you start to laugh, and you don't need to say something after that, whatever. Or it's just underlying stress. Teacher says something to you, or your instructor, or whoever, and you're holding it till you get a chance. But those moments can be stressful. Students have it, and so we see this phenomena working in many, many, many relationships and just in simple dialogue. So you can actually see in your friend circle, and once you see it, you'll see it everywhere now because you're aware of it.
Yeah, but
Slowly.
that's the problem I find. I feel I really see it all. I see all
Yes.
the faults, and
Yes.
that's just a theory.
Yeah,
Then I
no.
get frustrated because I feel, oh my gosh, I guess maybe there's a perfectionism.
Okay, now that is again getting frustrated is also actually because you're expecting a perfect world. So now nobody here is acting perfect. So actually, all the more reason you just come down into your body and you know that everybody's bit by this virus. Now you actually do your plug-in good meditation, which we'll do tonight. And you just do that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever time. And that you're now building energy that where you don't have the mind to tell you if you're perfect or not perfect. So when this energy gets bigger and bigger as you start to do more, of this, because all our techniques are to develop, it's for conscious development. We built the base. We're not trying to first tell you how to create a life with it. First, we're just building the foundation, the bank account. So once we build this, automatically it just flows into all other areas. But try it. Even if you try to do nothing this week, you will come back and say, I'm a lot more relaxed. Even if you don't try to do anything. That is the power of truth. That once it's spoken and you hear it, it resonates. It already gels. It takes place. And it cements. So, should we do some good meditation today?
Yes.
Okay, great. So back straight. Back straight, and those who are joining us now can also follow. So back straight, feet on the ground, and unless you're sitting in a yoga posture, and then your palms on the thighs. We start with a nice smile. Take a nice deep breath. Almost going from head to toe, touching your own feet, then coming up beautifully, smoothly. Very beautiful. Lovely day. Your purpose to come here is to connect with your spiritual self, your highest self. Everyone here has come to do the same. So just relax. There is no trying. Want you to focus on sounds outside you. So it could be from the room, it could be from outside the house, or anywhere in the house. Don't try and understand the sound. Simply listen to it and move your focus from sound to sound. Not trying hard. It's just the focus. Listen to the sounds inside the body. So whether it be the heartbeat, the pulse, any sounds within the body, move from sound to sound. Great. Place your attention now on the tongue. Tip of the tongue touching the upper palate. Focus on the tongue. Becoming quieter and quieter. The universe is buzzing with sound, yet there is silence. Silence in you, silence outside. I'm going to repeat a chant 3 times, and as I do so, you will get into deeper silence, connecting much deeper with the soul. Let the thoughts pass meantime. Let the feelings pass meantime. They're all part of this buzzing sound and the silence. There's nothing to be alerted about. Just rest in this wholesomeness. Om Namo Shiva. Om Namo Shiva. Om Namo Shiva. In the silence, I'll deliver healing to each and every one of you. consciousness does not stop where your skin stops. It's in you. It's everywhere. You are in the experience of the whole. I want you to imagine the cosmos, stars, moon, sun, planets, galaxies. And I feel this cosmos in your own body, head to toe, the floating, the moving stars, the planets. Consciousness, energy. Head to toe. Experience the cosmos as you. Now place your attention on your heart. And if you want, you can touch your heart with the right hand and breathe into the heart, focusing totally on the heart. It is such a blessing to have this body, this life, where we can experience everything. We can have the whole experience. Imagine yourself at 2 years old. The child is full and whole. May need things, may need attention, may cry, but the child is whole. Imagine yourself at 11 years or 12 years old. Maybe rebellious, maybe shy, maybe sad, maybe gutsy. Whatever you're doing, however you are whole. Imagine yourself at 22. Whatever you're doing, however you feel, you are whole. Come into the now as you are, absolutely as you are, full, complete, whole. Whatever your beliefs, whatever your values, strengths or weaknesses, your regrets, your shame, your guilt, your love, your happiness, you are whole. You may want to now open your eyes and maybe even stand up and just move around. Whatever gestures you want to do, you can do. Move your arms, move your hands, feeling the wholeness completely. Don't worry about what others would think. Just feel whole and express that wholeness with your entire body. So move around if you need to, whatever you need to do. Okay. How was the plug-in, the meditation?
It's firmly plugged in.
Firmly plugged in. So you see there's sounds, there's thoughts, there's feelings, there's life, there's everything else. And then there's total silence. Everything is included. Everything is the whole. There's no separateness. Any questions, any comments, or are we done?
I find my meditations are getting, I'm really much more fun.
Getting deeper?
I
Yes.
just felt there was an absolute body. I still, for some reason, my brain and my eyes are still kind of clamped up, but the rest of it, I didn't even feel it. It was really good.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah,
Yeah, that was good.
yeah. So we,
Pardon me?
It was really still.
very still.
Yeah, it was very relaxed.
And see how when we just plugged in, it was already still.
Yeah.
We just slept into the stillness. So when we are talking about something that is true, we are talking about truth, the silence just rises to just hug you. So it was already there. We just slipped into it. When we dropped the words, we just experienced the silence. And the meditation, the more we do it like this, the more plugged in we get, and the more silence we hold. So even when we are talking, even when we are angry or whatever, the silence is huge. You're in the silence, in this whole, energy, wholesome energy. And yet you're expressing that in that moment. And the moment passes and that expression passes and move on to another expression. So just how beautifully we flow. Yeah. So I should close here now. And if there's more, we can talk about it. So thank you for joining in, and thank you everyone who's, there's a lot of people who've joined in. So please share the message and let us be whole together. So that's a beautiful thing to do. And no more drop this disease. This is one disease you can drop, perfectionism. And when you notice it in others, make sure to share this wisdom with them too. So we can change the world one thought at a time. Well, thank you.
It's kind of hard to come out of it, though. You don't want to go back.
It's hard to come out.